The Renters Reform Bill had the potential to bring much needed security and safety to renters. Yet amendments to water it down, brought forward through the committee stage and even today, are a backward step that will significantly undermine the bill's intent. As an MP with one of the largest student populations in the country, I'm all too aware that students are experiencing a housing crisis on top of a cost of living crisis. We have seen landlords asking student renters for guarantors as well as deposits of up to 100% of their annual rent. The criteria of which is that the guarantor must own a UK property. This impacts and hinders the accessibility for working class students of private rented sector accommodation at their university. Also impacts on care leavers or those estranged from their families accessing higher education completely, as well as international students who don't have family members with property in the UK. To mitigate this, I have put forward new clause 41 today that seeks to end one of the most illogical parts of the rental process, guarantor schemes. The expectation, despite entering a legal contract which outlines the responsibility of the landlord and the tenant, a nominated individual takes responsibility for fulfilling the contract, seems to undermine the purpose of the contract itself. This amendment seeks to tackle financial pressure on students, supporting the member for Sheffield Central's amendment seeking to stop landlords from signing up tenants months before an academic year begins, which creates an arms race for student lets. We must also consider those from whom living at home has never been an option, have come through the care system or become estranged from their parents. If students do not know a guarantor owns a house in the UK, they must be stuck paying extra to private company, paying 6 months or more rent up front, or not being able to rent at all. Guarantors are not expected for most people of the same age who aren't students. So why is there this discrepancy for students? An international postgraduate student at Leeds University told me, my only viable option was using the guarantor service, Housing Hand, which cost me an additional £50 a month on top of rent and bills. I'm a PhD student receiving the UKRI minimum stipend, which is paid monthly. The cost of living for food and rent alone is already difficult on this stipend, and during the final week before the stipend is paid each month, I often struggle to maintain a healthy and balanced diet due to financial strain. This is not only demoralising, but affects my academic progress on a physical level, as I'm often hungry and unable to afford fresh fruit and vegetables, which is a staple of my diet. It may not sound like much, but not having to pay for this guarantor service can make a considerable difference to my overall well-being on a monthly basis, as this money can instead be used on fresh food. Research conducted by students from the Centre for Homelessness found that just 36% of universities provide help on rent guarantors, and even fewer provide a rent guarantor service for students. And as universities face financial issues themselves, this will become more unlikely. Renting as a student is already an uphill struggle. We know, for example, that student accommodation prices have increased by 61% since 2012, and information from NUS UK shows us that 2 in 5 students have considered dropping out due to the cost of rent and bills. When we're trying to encourage people to attend our worldly institutions that strengthen the skills potential of our country's workforce, why do we put up so many barriers? Our universities are the UK's strongest soft power. This is particularly the case for international students who are left with nothing but bad choices, finding a UK guarantor or paying 6 months or more rent up front to their landlord. One student recently relayed this to the APPG for students, saying, international students often face more challenges than home students. We have heard stories of students paying months of rent up front only to find out they've been scammed and the place they thought they'd secured doesn't even exist. We had one case where international students paid a whole year's rent in advance only to find out their landlord went bankrupt. While they eventually got their money back, the stress and uncertainty they went through was unbearable. The Renters Reform Bill was a welcome opportunity to rectify so many scandals in the private rented sector. Yet there had clearly been a continuing and concerted campaign to force the government to create an unprecedented 2-tier rental market where students were at the mercy of Section 21 evictions that other tenants would be protected from. Thank you.